Capek.
"Prisoner at the bar, stand up," said the judge. "You are charged with having murdered František Lebeda, your father-in-law. During the preliminary investigations, you admitted that you deliberately struck him 3 times on the head with an axe, with intent to kill him. Now then, do you plead guilty?"
The peasant, who looked worn out with drudgery, trembled and gulped.
"No,"
he muttered.
"Did you kill him?" "Yes."
"Then you plead guilty?"
"No."
The judge had the patience of an angel.
"Look here, Vondracek," he said. "It's been shown that once before you tried to poison him. You put rat poison in his coffee. Is that true?" "Yes." "That's a proof that you've had designs on his life for some considerable time. Do you understand me?"
The peasant sniffed and shrugged his shoulders in bewilderment.
"Well, it was all along of that there clover," he stammered. "He sold the clover, and I said to him, 'Dad, you leave that clover be. I'm going to buy some rabbits.'" "Wait a bit," interrupted the judge. "Was that his clover or yours?" "Why, his," mumbled the accused. "But what's he want clover for?" So I said to him, "Well, Dad, anyway, leave me the field where you've got the lucerne." But he says, "When I'm dead, Mark'll get it." That's my wife. "And then you do what you like with it, you greedy skinflint, you." "So that's why you wanted to poison him?" Why, yes." "Because he called you names?" "No, it was all along of that there field. He said he was going to sell the field." "But my good man," burst out the judge, "it was his field, wasn't it? Why shouldn't he sell it?"
Vondracek gazed reproachfully at the judge.
"Why, I've got a potato patch next to that field," he explained. "I bought it so as one day it could join the field. But he said, 'What do I care about your patch? I'm going to sell the field to you, Dal.'" "So you lived on bad terms with each other?" observed the judge. "Why, yes," said Vondracek gloomily. "That was all along of the goat." "What goat?" "Well, he milked my goat dry. I said to him, 'Dad, leave that goat alone, or else give us that bit of pasture by the stream.' But he let the pasture."
And what did he do with the money?" asked a juryman.
"Why, he stored it up in a cash box, of course," replied the accused sullenly. "When I'm dead," he said, "you'll get it." But he wouldn't die. Not him. And him over 70 and all. "So, according to you, it was your father-in-law who was the cause of these disagreements?" "Yes," said Vondracek slowly. "He wouldn't give anything. 'While I'm alive,' he said, 'I'll manage things myself, so put that in your pipe and smoke it.' So I said to him, 'Dad, if you was to buy a cow, I'd plough that field, and it wouldn't have to be sold.' But he said, 'When I'm dead you can buy 2 cows if you like,
but I'm going to sell my bit of land to you, Dahl.
Look here, Vondracek, said the judge sternly. Didn't you kill him for the money that was in the cash box?
Well, that was to buy the cow with, said Vondracek stubbornly. We reckoned out that when he was dead, we'd have a cow. You can't do without a cow on a farm, can you? Where was I to get the manure from? Prisoner at the bar, the public prosecutor here intervened. We are not concerned with a cow, but with a human life. Why did you kill your father-in-law? Well, that was all along of the field. That's no answer. He wanted to sell the field. But the money would have been yours after his death just the same.
Yes, but he wouldn't die, said Vondracek sulkily. You see, Your Honour, if he died without any fuss like, I would never have done him any harm. All the village can prove that I treated him like my own father, can't you? He said, turning to the public. The body of the court, where half the village was present, rumbled with sounds of assent. Yes, said the judge solemnly. And that's why you wanted to poison him, isn't it?
Poison, muttered the accused.
Well, then he didn't ought to have sold that clover. Your Honour, everyone'll tell you how clover ought to be kept. That's not the way to manage a farm, is it?
He's right there, you know. There was a murmur of assent in the body of the court.
Face me, prisoner at the bar, shouted the judge, or I'll have your friends cleared out of the court. Tell us how the murder took place.
Well, began Vondracek with deliberation, it was on a Sunday, and I saw him talking to you, Dahl, again.
Dad, I said to him, you mustn't sell that field, so as I can't have it. But he said,
Well, it ain't likely as I'm going to ask you about it, you clodhopper.
So I said to myself, it's time something was done, see? So I went off to chop some wood. Was this the axe? Yes. Continue your story. In the evening I said to my wife, you go and take the children to their aunt. Oh, she started crying there and then. Oh, don't cry, I said. I'll have a talk with him first. So then he came into the shed and says to me, This is my axe, give it here. And I told him as how he'd milked my goat dry. Well, then he tried to drag the axe away from me. So I hit at him. Why? Well, I was all along of the field. And why did you hit him 3 times?
Vondracek shrugged his shoulders.
Well, you see, Your Honour, the likes of us are used to hard work. And then? Well, then I went to have a lie down. Did you sleep? No. I was reckoning how much the cow would cost, and that I'd exchange the pasture for the strip by the roadside, and then it'd all beat together. And your conscience didn't worry you? No. What worried me was that those fields wasn't together. And then the buyer for the cow has got to be mended. That'll cost a tidy bit of money too. Why, my father-in-law, he never even had a cart. I used to say to him, Dad, may the Lord forgive you your sins, but this isn't the way to manage a farm. Them 2 fields was meant to belong together. It'd be a pity if they didn't. But you had no pity for the old man, thundered the judge. And him gonna sell that strip of land to you, doll, stammered the accused. So you murdered him for gain. No, I never, objected Vondracek indignantly. It was all along of that field. If them fields had been joined together, do you plead guilty? No. Then murdering an old man means nothing to you? But I keep on telling you it was all along of that field. Vondracek burst forth, almost sobbing. That ain't murder. Bless my souls, anybody ought to understand that. You see, Your Honour, it was in the family. I wouldn't do it to a stranger. I've never stolen anything. You ask about Vondracek, and they arrested me like a thief. Like a thief, moaned Vondracek, choking with woe. No, you're not a thief. But you murdered your father-in-law, said the judge sadly. Do you know that that's punishable by death?
Vondracek blew his nose and snuffled.
It's all along of that field, he said resignedly.
Whereupon the proceedings took their course. Evidence, speeches for prosecution and defence. While the jury retired to discuss the guilt of Vondracek, the judge stared reflectively out of the window.
Taking it all round, it was a poor show, grumbled the clerk of the court. The public prosecutor somehow never let himself go properly, and the counsel for the defence hadn't got much to say either. In fact, it was a clear case, so there was no need to make a lot of talk about it.
The judge snorted.
A clear case, he said with an impatient gesture. Look here, that man feels just as much in the right as you or I. To my mind, it's as if I had to sentence a butcher for slaughtering a cow, or a mole for making molehills. I tell you, there were moments when I felt that it wasn't any business of ours at all, you know. Not a question of law or justice.
He sighed and took off his robes.
I must have a rest from this for a moment. You know, I think the jury'll let him off. It's absurd, but perhaps they'll let him off, because... Let me tell you something. I come of peasant stock myself, and when that chap was saying that the fields belong together, well, I saw the 2 strips of field, and I felt that if we had to pass sentence, you know what I mean, by any law of God, then we'd have to pass sentence on those 2 fields. Do you know what I'd do if I had my way? I'd stand up, take off my robes, and say, Vondracek, in the name of God, because blood that has been shed cries to heaven, you will sow those 2 fields with henbane and thorns, and until your death you'll have this field of hatred before your eyes. I'd like to know what the public prosecutor would say to that. Sometimes it's God who ought to pass sentence. He could inflict great and terrible penalties. To pass sentence in God's name, we're hardly equal to that. What? The jury have already made up their minds?
Sighing with distaste, the judge put on his robes.
Well, Come along, then. Bring